garage me estás? ¿Me dónde per garage me estás? He's behind the garage. He's behind. He's behind.
The following podcast contains spoilers for Signs. You have been warned.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is yours, Glenn Button, along with your host, Miguel Magusto.
How you doing?
Not bad. Sweating after all that. Speaking Portuguese really makes you delicious, I guess. I don't know. Fucking
Yep.
makes you stew.
Yep. That's what we're sticking with.
Oh, yeah. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. We had a different week.
Yes.
This week was only about 15 minutes for us.
Yeah, it was really long-lasting.
Yeah. Would you like to explain, Glenn?
I would love to explain. So I am going on vacation, and I'm going basically in the middle of the week till the next middle of the week. And we usually record on Mondays. I won't be here this coming Monday when we usually do the podcast. So I said, Mike, let's do a little double movie podcast on one day. And we're working our asses off, guys.
Yes, we are.
So to get straight to the forwards, we're just going to get right into the movie because we didn't obviously watch anything in 15 minutes besides us panicking. And that's mainly me because I ran out of memory on my 4K camera last time we recorded, which was 15 minutes ago. So yeah, there's that. Yeah.
Yes.
So without any further ado, I'm taking your part. This is my show now,
Yeah,
baby.
that's fine. Go for it.
Let's get into Signs.
Ooh.
What can make geometric shapes the size of a football field?
What kind of machine can bend a stalk of corn over without breaking it?
Can't be by hand, it's too perfect.
So the aliens can't read our minds.
Oh.
A widowed former reverend. Oh, what the fuck just fell behind my camera? Oh, it was a wire.
Your room is haunted now ever since that guy came in.
I don't know what's happening, man. I don't know what's going on. A widowed former reverend living with his children and brother on a Pennsylvania farm finds mysterious crop circles in their fields, which suggest something more frightening to come. Directed, written, and produced by M. Night Shyamalan, stars Mel Gibson, Joaquin Phoenix, Rory Culkin, not Rory Culkin, and Abigail Breslin. There's a bunch of other people in there, like M. Night Shyamalan himself, and Cherry Jones, but it mainly focuses on the core four of the family. So yeah, I picked this because, like I said last time, I've been meaning to rewatch it for a while, and this is kind of like one of the movies that sparked wanting to become a filmmaker, even though I was only 9, or like getting into film period, not just filmmaker, I should say. And
going back to what, sorry to interrupt, going back to what you asked me last time when you were saying that this was going to be the movie, you asked me what movie made me want to become a filmmaker. That was The Village, but the movie that got me into film was The Mummy in 1999. So neither of them were Signs, but M. Night Shyamalan was definitely the director to do it for me.
For a lot of, at least kind of our near age group, a lot of people who saw this movie and The Village, at least in like the Philadelphia area, because there was obviously that close connection of like, oh, if he can be a filmmaker with this brilliant shit, maybe I could as well. This was kind of one of the movies to be like that stepping stone forward. So I wanted to watch it just because it's been a while. B, it somewhat fits into the horror Spooktober little festivities, especially if you were a 9-year-old watching this in 2002. You probably shit your fucking pants. I definitely didn't.
I definitely, like, this movie kept me up the first time I watched it.
Yep.
Like, I saw it in the middle of the day in the summer. It was like, I think it was August is when it came out. Saw it in the middle of the day with my dad. Came home. It was on my mind like the entire time, the rest of the day. And then like I was just laying in bed that night being like,
yeah, man,
worried about the sky now.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. This movie did some wonders back in the day.
Yeah.
Still does, but we'll talk about that.
I would say arguably this is possibly M. Night's scariest. Mm-hmm. Just from the standpoint that ghosts aren't real, so the Sixth Sense isn't really that scary. And also, Sixth Sense kind of has like a nice, wholesome tone to it where he's learning to help the ghosts.
Yeah.
Whereas this is just like, hey, these aliens, which could be real, are going to fuck your shit up. So,
yeah, amen.
So I would argue that this is probably his scariest film. Now, saying that, it's PG-13. It's about as scary as a PG-13 movie can be. They're not very scary as an adult. But this still holds up and has some creepy parts to it. Like it's a legitimately creepy film, especially in the beginning when you're just seeing like slight glimpses of the aliens. Like you see just the leg sticking out of the corn when Mel Gibson is there. You see it standing on the
silhouette.
Roof. Yeah, which funnily enough, this has the whole religious aspect, which our last film, Last Exorcism, does. And the guy who played the alien, anytime they did mocap, where is he? God, where'd he go? Oh,
where did he go?
Oh my goodness, where'd he go? Topcast. I saw it, but anyway, he played Jason Voorhees, which we did 2 times ago in the 2009 remake.
Oh, everything just comes full circle,
It
baby.
really does. It does come full circle. Where is that precious man?
I just saw one of the taglines for the
Derek
movie.
Mears is his name, by the way.
Hey!
Derek Mears. Yeah.
I just saw the tagline for the movie is, "It's not like they didn't warn us." That's pretty funny.
But yeah, this was one of my obsessions in 2002 when I was 12 going on 13. So yeah, I really liked it. I love M. Night's style. I know a lot of people have problems with M. Night. I understand all those problems. I personally think he's a very unique filmmaker.
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast a couple months ago, and they said something that I thought was bold, but I also kind of agree with. They said that M. Night Shyamalan is a more iconic filmmaker than people like David Fincher, even though David Fincher has more like critically acclaimed films. In M. Night Shyamalan, you remember specific shots through many of his films.
Yeah.
And like he has a lot of very iconic moments in his films. David Fincher has iconic films, but not with iconic moments. So like visually speaking, M. Night Shyamalan's a more creative director, is what that person was saying.
I could almost agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's a bold claim.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with it, but I also think it is diminishing David Fincher to a point where it's not very fair. But I think you talk to anyone, they'll remember specific shots in Signs and The Village and The Sixth Sense more than they will, other than like the shirtless scene with Brad Pitt in Fight Club. There's not many shots where you're just like, it just transports you back to that film.
I would say, as far as shots go, yeah, maybe, but there's definitely moments where both directors have absolutely will stick with you no matter what. I
think Mindhunter is more iconic than anything else David Fincher has made, and is fortunately canceled after 2 seasons. Hashtag
oh my God, don't get me fucking started on that.
Mindhunter is the best thing David Fincher ever made, and I will not apologize for saying that.
It was a fantastic show.
And that's a lot coming from me who doesn't really like TV shows. So take that as you will. But yeah, I'm just so glad you picked this film. I sent you a video of the opening credits as it was playing. I'm sorry I'm talking a lot, but I really love this movie.
That's what a podcast is about.
Because the second the opening credits started, I remembered how much I fucking love this soundtrack. James Newton Howard was my favorite composer for about 10, 15 years. Might still be my favorite composer, but I don't listen to soundtracks as much as I used to.
Yeah.
Just for time purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I love about the music in this is that little triplet that is the theme of the film is in legitimately like every single song in one way or another, and is in either creepy or beautiful or sad. Yeah, it's like do 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 do, and it's just such a beautiful way to tie the whole film together, and in a way that I think makes James Newton Howard one of the most underappreciated film composers of all time. People always talk about Hans Zimmer, rightfully so. He's great. A lot of people talk about Thomas Newman, which I love Thomas Newman, but a lot of his stuff sounds the same, to the point where like I can tell you if something's Tom Newman without even checking.
Yeah.
Ludwig Göransson's obviously great. There's a lot of great composers, but like very few people ever mention James Newton Howard. And I think that's just because he doesn't have a shtick. Like all of his film scores sound different, in my opinion. But he gives so much attention to each film that it just blends in. And it's a shame that because he doesn't have a shtick that makes you go, that's James Newton Howard, people don't notice him as much as they do Hans Zimmer or Thomas Newman or Michael Giacchino, people like that. Other great composers, but I love James Newton Howard. Anyway,
so I was trying to look up what his other repertoire has been.
He did a lot of the early M. Night Shyamalan stuff.
King Kong. He was in The Village musical department for Dark Knight. He was
The Village was my favorite score for a long time. I believe he did Unbreakable and Sixth Sense as well. I believe he did everything up until Lady in the Water for James Newton or for M. Night Shyamalan. I believe that was his last film with him.
Yeah, he's had a career. Holy shit! It's crazy to think.
He did. Well, they used the theme from Unbreakable and Split. I was going to say he did Split, but they only used his theme.
It's crazy that I've never. I mean, I've heard this guy. Obviously, it's so many fucking movies. Jesus, but I've never like actually. You don't hear his name at all nearly as much as everyone else's.
I know this is a podcast about Signs, but he did Batman Begins with Hans Zimmer. They both worked on it together.
Yeah.
And then after Inception, I believe it was, or maybe it was The Prestige, whichever of those came first.
I feel like Prestige.
Okay, yeah. So he also worked on The Dark Knight as well. With Hans Zimmer.
He was like he also played like piano.
Yeah, so he worked on The Dark Knight, and then Christopher Nolan and Hans Zimmer did Inception together, and then when they asked him to come back for Dark Knight Rises, he was just like, "Hey, you guys got this. You guys did great with Inception." So he's even like humble, where he's like stepping away from work, where he's just like, "I'm just getting in the way here."
Yeah.
So I think he's so underappreciated. I think he deserves more praise, and really is one of my favorites, and like just thinking about it, I think he might still be my favorite. I just don't know for sure.
So there's a lot of works that I'd really want to re-listen to, especially
Michael
that King
Clayton's
Kong
a great soundtrack. Okay, so he did The Happening as well. So maybe The Happening was his last. No, he did The Last Airbender as well. Don't blame him on the movie on him. He just did the music. Yeah, so maybe The Last Airbender was his last film with M. Night Shyamalan, which I feel like M. Night...
He's like, yeah, I'm just going to back away now.
But yeah, he's fantastic. I think he's underappreciated, and I loved listening on my surround sound system to that score. Hadn't experienced that since the movie. It was in the movie theater. And the sound design in this is great, too.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, that's enough from me. Glenn, you talk for a little bit.
All right, cool.
Sorry.
So, what the fuck do I even talk? I have a lot of notes on this movie, so it's going to be hard for me to... This actually, believe it or not, as a 30-year-old man, I got jump scared.
Really? Which parts?
Right in the beginning. The dog barking at the kids.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. I was not expecting that, and it just scared the shit out of me. I'm like, oh, what's the dog doing, man? Don't
This
do that.
movie's not kind to dogs, but it's one of the few movies that I forgive for not being kind to dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually scared the shit out of me. As a kid, obviously, there's the simpler parts where it's obviously the aliens that scare you. Mm-hmm. Whether or not it's the silhouette that happens, or the grabbing of the hand under the pantry, or the final, or not the final, the second to final, where it's the reveal on the news, or the actual final where it actually picks up Rory and sprays some Febreze in his face,
or when his hands are coming through the grate.
Oh yeah, the grate too.
Just
excellent shot too. Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, that's one. I feel like a lot of people forget how good M. Night Shyamalan was in his heyday. Like, a lot of people shit on Signs for the whole water thing, which I'll get into in a bit. I have things to say about that. But and that's a complaint I understand. I legitimately understand. Rewatching it, it makes more sense to me why they would still come to this planet knowing that there's a bunch of water. Yeah. And there's
also just a bunch of not water.
Yeah, but there's also there's a fan theory as well that I like about this, and I hate fan theories, but I like this one.
Yeah.
But like visually, there was a reason why they used to call M. Night Shyamalan the new Alfred Hitchcock. He is great at building suspense. He is great at setting up scenes and shots. His blocking is very theatrical and cinematic, where like it doesn't make sense if it were real life, but it adds to the tension within a film. And his use of framing, like he uses doorways and like open doors and windows and stuff to frame his characters in this film. Yeah, and it's just cinematically the cinematography is just fantastic in this film.
One of my favorite framing choices is when, like, right in the beginning when Mel Gibson's brushing his teeth. You don't even see him, but it's framed from the hallway looking into the bathroom, and the bathroom looks empty, and then Abigail Breslin just screams, and then it's still that same shot during it, and he's just brushing his teeth off to the side, and then just pops into frame where the door is and just goes, huh? Yeah. I thought, like, he's got so many really good shots like that.
Yeah, and there's another one where, like, his wife's old sewing room, the door is like cracked open, and you can just see him through the crack of the door.
And then it shows, like, the dress she was working on, like, sewing together, because they had, like, just talked about her. Mm-hmm. So that was another. There's so many good shots. In this movie. It's like. This movie has a bunch of shit going for it that makes it like a top tier movie, but it's not. I feel like it's not nearly talked about as much as it should be in comparison.
I think that a lot of people shit on it to a fault. Yeah, because of the twist. People focus too much on the twists in his movies and not enough on the rest of the film. Yeah, but then they go around and don't focus enough on the twist of Now You See Me. Mm-hmm. Where, like, a lot of people like that movie when that twist is fucking stupid, and like I bring that up all the time.
I want to do a tally of that, just how many times you do it, but I'm not scrubbing through 200 plus episodes.
It's just the thing that comes to mind is that, like, I remember people coming out of that movie and they're just like, oh, it's so great, I didn't see the ending coming, because it's not possible. Anyway, we're talking about Signs. Yeah, but yeah, like it. So let's just get into it, because I'm going to keep bringing it up if we don't get into it. Yep. Yes, the aliens are allergic to water. Their skin starts dissolving. So first of all, rewatching it this time, something that I was too stupid to realize the last time I watched it, which was like 15, Rory Culkin tells Mel Gibson that he thinks, after he realizes that they're hostile, and also, after they try to break in and everything, that they weren't there for the planet. They were there to harvest humans. Yeah. Humans go to places that are so deadly to humans to harvest other things. It's not something that's out of the question for species. Yeah. Like, it's like risk versus reward. Mm-hmm. They probably knew. The one thing I will admit, they probably should have worn suits if that was an issue.
A lot of the places they were naming didn't have a lot of water surrounding them.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. And then, like, Pennsylvania doesn't have that much water. Like, we have some rivers and creeks, but nothing like nothing massive unless you're in the northwest part where Lake Erie is. We got the Delaware River, the Schuylkill River, the Susquehanna River, and then a bunch of creeks. That's what we got.
Yeah.
And those are pretty far away from things, and they're specifically going to places to harvest humans, not anything else. So I think that it's an unfair thing to talk about just from the standpoint that they're not going to stay at the planet. They're just harvesting things.
Yeah.
People go into mines for shit and you know, they used to carry birds with them to let them know if it was too dangerous to go in. Like, it's not out of the question that a species would go to a dangerous place to harvest something that they need, because humans do it all the time. And then there's one fan theory that I really like, is that maybe like fresh water and stuff isn't too bad for them. Like, you know, yes, they're still allergic to it, but it's a slight allergy or whatever. It's not too big of a deal. But I saw this, I forget who it was, but I saw this fan theory that was like, hey, when we process our water, we put like fluoride and shit into it. That's not to mention the polluted aspect of water for like natural waters, like the fucking Delaware. That's not fresh water. That's all gross. How many dead bodies are in the Schuylkill River, especially near Philly, and you know how many chemicals are being pumped out of that. So it's not necessarily that they're allergic to fresh water, or you know they're being killed by fresh water. They're being killed by the water that we as humans are fine with.
Yeah,
we're fine with the fluoride. You know, some people think it controls your minds. That's stupid. It just helps your teeth.
Well, it also helps this theory that Abigail Breslin was complaining about the water the
contaminated.
whole fucking time.
It's got dust. It's got amoebas. It's got all this thing. It's got like, maybe they're not allergic to 100% pure water.
Yeah,
maybe it's everything else that's fucking in it. Like there's and fucking in it. You know, the asexually fucking.
Amen. You know, where like the, you know, the water thing, it is like,
I get it. I just think it diminishes a fantastic movie for something that, admittedly, not the greatest twist ending, but it doesn't ruin the rest of the movie.
Well, I think with it, like, yes, the water thing is like a little, you know, okay, that's like a goofy plot point.
Yeah.
But I think like with a lot of things in this movie, and it's like it's damn near perfect to me.
Yeah.
It almost everything comes full circle.
Yes.
Yeah, like a crop circle. Glenn, shut up. No, everything at some point kind of comes full circle. You could probably argue with me about it. Like, this is coming from like a semi good fucking critique guy. But I think this movie damn near, to me, I can't point out too many flaws. Even like the water thing, it's not that big of a flaw to me, because as it's written, I think it makes a huge point.
Like you other
was it delivered a little weird? Sure, but I think the whole point is like it wasn't about the fucking water.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Yeah, and like you said though, all the other places they mentioned were like these super dry places, like the desert, and Brazil's not that dry. But there are parts. Brazil's huge too. I wouldn't be surprised if there are parts of Brazil where the nearest body of water is super far away. And humidity, yes, there's water and humidity, but it's not 100% water.
Yeah,
it's water vapor along with oxygen. If it was just water vapor, we would all die in the Amazon. So again, I understand it. It's a weird execution. But to completely ignore the rest of this fantastic film because of a little nitpick that really only takes maybe 5 minutes, when people forgive other things in movies,
a little too easily,
that are worse than this, in my opinion. It's, I don't know. I think this started the M. Night hate train, And I think it just became like a Nickelback thing where it became a cultural thing to hate on M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
And people thought it was funny, so they continued to pile on. Pretty much any person that I know that has hated The Village and I've had a discussion with came away from this discussion, and I also Signs. I haven't had as many discussions about Signs, but like anytime I describe my viewpoint of The Village and Signs, they come away not hating it anymore. Maybe not necessarily liking it, but they don't hate it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you just need the certain perspective to like these movies. Now, is that still a flaw? Yes, I'll fully admit that that's a flaw. But that's no reason to say that he's a horrible director.
Yeah.
And I think he's a fantastic director, especially visually. We've discussed this already. Visually, he's fantastic. Yeah.
I mean, this movie, proves that.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah, he's got a bunch of his other films too, but I feel like for like an everybody audience, I think this one is one of his best to prove to that he is one of the best.
Yeah. My favorite of his is Unbreakable. I think that's another underappreciated one.
We were kind of briefly, not about not specifically M. Night, but like kind of I wanna rewatch a lot of like directors' filmography and kind of put them into perspective where I think they belong on the best. This one's up there for M. Night. And one of the things I also want to get into, I talked about full circle stuff, is they use like kind of one-liners at like different points in the movie where they'll like use towards the end. Like for instance, like It Was Meant to Be was something M. Night, his character, said in the beginning, or not, kind of in the middle. He's like, yeah, it was, I fell asleep and your wife just happened to be there and I hit her with my car. Like it was meant to be. And then the wife says it at the end of the movie when they're finally showing what she's saying to Mel.
Yeah.
And she said like it was meant to be.
Fantastic scene, by the way.
It's a fantastic scene.
Like I didn't cry when I was a kid, but like now that I have a family and everything, I teared up. I was like,
yep. And then
I knew this was coming, and it still hit me hard.
And like then they'll do like a closer example where like Rory is like talking to his sister, and he's like, this one's gonna be in the science books, and then the anchor man is like, this one's gonna be in the science book. He's like, see, I told you.
It's gonna change science books for
yeah
something like that.
It's got so many kind of great lines that reoccur.
Yeah.
And another one of this one's more of like a funny line than it is like a reoccurring one. But when they're kind of doing the investigation with the officer, and like it's Joaquin and Mel at the table, and then she's like trying to get any information out of these two.
It was very dark.
It was dark. Well, was he short? Was he tall? Well, he was not short.
Yeah.
And well, can you give me this description? Well, it was very dark.
Yeah.
that was great.
There are Scandinavian Olympians that can jump 10 feet high. Okay, Scandinavian Olympians aside.
Yep.
I shouldn't have said that about the Scandinavian Olympians. Yeah, it was he does humor really well in these films that are otherwise pretty serious, because they're never like jokes. They're just like realistic scenes. Yeah. Heightened realism where it's not 100% realistic, but like you could see it happening.
The only actual flaw I could kind of come up with this, and he does this with a lot of his movies, is there's no better way to describe it, is that a lot of his characters mansplain.
Yeah, there's exposition and
they're very exposition heavy. Like anybody, like fucking children, will be mansplaining shit on a topic like that will make sense later or now whenever they're talking about it. But like that's like kind of the only flaw I have with his movies. Is like everybody's like exposition filled, no matter the age or what they are. But that doesn't really hold back in this movie, because the whole family's just silly, goofy, and they all just know a bunch of stuff. Yeah,
Abigail Breslin's adorable.
I never realized how much shit she was in when she was that young.
Yeah. Her and her brother were child actors.
It's crazy.
The funny thing is, watching this, I was like, Okay, so this came out in 2002, probably filmed 2001, 2000 at the earliest.
Yeah.
She was 6 in 2002, so in this she's either 4 or 5. She can't be taller than my 2.5-year-old son.
No.
Because my 2.5-year-old son is like 3 feet tall already.
He's a tall lad.
Yeah, height runs in my family. And she can't be taller than 3 feet. Because she's 5'1" now. She's pretty short. Maybe 5'4". I forget what I saw. But lower end of the 5 foot. And she's like so short in this that like when I found out she was 4 or 5, I was like, she does not look 4 or 5.
Oh, this was like her first movie.
Yeah, and she's great in it. She's great. I mean, like
he's so good at finding kid actors.
Yeah, he is. I mean, Rory Culkin's great in it too. I think he was fantastic, especially because he had more emotional depth. Because she was pretty much just scared or happy or whatever. But she did that great, and then he had like an understanding of things going on. Yeah. Like when he saw M. Night for the first time, was like, is that him? And you understood the weight of what he was saying there. So I thought Rory did a really great job. This, obviously, we love M. Night because he's a southeastern Pennsylvania filmmaker. Most of his movies are filmed. My boy. Most of his movies are filmed in this area. I do not think any other of his films encapsulates southeastern Pennsylvania better than this film does. When I was 12 or 13, I thought that Cherry Jones, who plays the deputy, I thought she was from this area. That's how good she is at being like a southeastern Pennsylvanian deputy. Yeah, that it just felt like her. The owners of the bookstore felt very southeastern Pennsylvanian. The pharmacy, played by Merritt Weaver, who's gone on to be in a lot of things. She felt very southeastern Pennsylvanian. Michael Showalter, who is a comedic actor and director, he did like Wet Hot American Summer and everything. He feels very southeastern Pennsylvanian, and it just like it feels. It's like his one film that actually like feels like it. The other ones kind of feel like amalgamations of it. Yeah. And then this just like I was like transported to the more rural areas. Like it kind of felt like in a way a little bit like Honeybrook, even though it was Bucks County, but like that kind of area.
It's a little more northern, a little bit, but
northern, a little more. I mean this with utmost respect, redneck, a little
Pennsyltucky.
Pennsyltucky. I wouldn't even go that far because that's like meth head territory.
Yeah. Speaking of Cherry Jones, real quick, So, Scary Movie had a good. I forget which Scary Movie. It was probably 3.
Oh, The Hat.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
There was one scene in this movie where she was wearing a hat, and
it was
they ran with that joke hard.
Yeah, they really did.
Because like it didn't even look too big for her head or anything. They just every time in Scary Movie they showed her every scene or every shot, it was a bigger hat every time. Yeah. This one, she literally was in one shot, and it was I don't know. I just thought that was funny. I'm waiting for where is that hat getting bigger or what's happening here? Anyway, that was just a quick remark.
This I think this has some of his best moments too. As far as like suspense and horror goes. Obviously the scene when the aliens are trying to break in, that's a pretty suspenseful scene. My favorite scene in this is when Mel Gibson goes into the cornfield at night and he's still trying to convince himself that it's humans, and he's in the crop circle and it says like, you're not going to get famous from this, and then while walking back kind of starts to panic and drops his flashlight when he hears a noise. That whole sequence is fantastic. It's fantastic how it's made, and I just love the shots in it. And then when he comes back into the house, and like it's like a Renaissance painting where like the two kids are doing the dishes. Uncle Merrill is on the couch and he just comes in to the shot. Just the framing of that shot is so great, and it's just 5 stars all around for that. But yeah, I like it so much.
It's such a good movie. The cast is so well done. Obviously, this is pre Mel Gibson being a complete ass. He's fantastic. I love his character and just how much of a passive parent he is. and just lets his kids like be themselves.
That's how it should be. Like,
Yeah,
unless they're
100%.
doing something that harms someone else.
Yeah,
Or,
it's like,
or put themselves in really, really great harm.
like he doesn't he doesn't overcorrect them. I mean, they're smart kids. They don't need overcorrected or anything.
Yeah.
And he's just like, Dad, I'm gonna do this thing. He's like, okay, have fun.
Yeah, and he never makes fun of them for like when they're sitting in the room reading the book with the tinfoil hats.
Yeah.
Like the most he'll get, he never says like you shouldn't be like. I mean, he does like in a parental way. He's like that's enough of this, but he's never
Yeah.
just like you shouldn't read this. You shouldn't be interested in this.
Or like,
and the most he'll say is like Dr. Bimbu.
I was gonna say
And I'm
he
just
says
asking his
Dr.
name.
Bimbu.
I'm just asking his name.
Yep. Yeah, no, he was great. I thought Abigail was great, especially being that age, her first movie. I thought she was fantastic in this. Joaquin had great, hilarious moments in it. And even Rory. Rory was really good. Played a nice asthmatic character very well and just a really smart kid. M. Night finds, I mean, this is Macaulay Culkin's brother, but he finds child actors so well. It's kind of crazy.
He really does. And also, Abigail Breslin's brother, Spencer Breslin, is in The Happening.
Yeah.
Which I like that movie for what it is. I think it's more of a comedy than a horror, but it was advertised as a horror, which is why I understand why people hated it. But
There's
if
a
you
lot
watch
of
it
moments.
if you
in
watch
that
it as
where I
a
like
comedy, it's hilarious. So I get it though. It's not like Signs where I'm going to defend it. Like I understand the hate that The Happening gets. But yeah, it's got a lot of really cool ideas. It kind of reminded me how they're all obsessed with the news. I don't know how you were when that escaped murderer was on the loose in southeastern Pennsylvania.
I mean, I wasn't worried at all. But
I wasn't
it was,
worried, but I was
it
always
was a great
checking the
talking
news.
point for a couple
Well,
weeks.
I was delivering for DoorDash in that area as it was happening. So I was like probably a little more worried than you, but I was also like, I'm a foot and a half taller than this guy,
Yeah.
so I'll be fine.
Well, the crazy thing is, pretty much we all were.
Yeah, he's a short king, a short murdering king.
Yeah.
But I related to them being obsessed with the news because that happened like only a month ago.
Well, especially Joaquin when he was like, "Oh, they're all nerds. They're all nerds, just doing this stupid shit." And then like he gets a glimpse of like one thing, and he's like, "All right, maybe they're not nerds. Maybe it's okay. Maybe I'm gonna get into this, and I'm gonna be I'm learning about everything.
He became
watching
a
the
nerd.
news. He became a nerd hard for this." It was pretty funny to watch. A lot of his moments were really funny in this movie.
Yeah.
There's probably only a few more things that I have left to say. There was like another kind of instance where it was like a reoccurring thing where in the beginning of the movie, Mel and Joaquin kind of perimeter the house, kind of running it around and kind of protecting it. And they do the same thing, but inside the house at the end of the movie, looking for a way that aliens could get in. I thought that was a nice little touch that on the outside and inside, those boys, they are protecting that house and that family. And then I should probably get into the alien parts. I remember exactly where I watched this movie in 2000, definitely too. My aunt is a big fan of the M. Night movies. So she made us, I'm pretty sure she made us watch a couple, or whenever, it was a couple times. Whenever we went over there, she was most likely watching an M. Night movie. Like she really likes Lady in the Water, even though that's a controversial opinion to
I
some
like
people.
that one too, but again, that's another one where I get it. I get the hate it gets.
But I remember going to my aunt's and she made us watch Signs, and obviously the any parts with the aliens scared the shit out of me at a crisp 9 years old, especially the one where they're like, it's behind, and then the Sasquatch shot that scared the living hell out of me when I was younger. It's just a fantastic movie. There's something like this that could be just a PG-13, yet really put you in a chokehold on the spectrum of scared. It's really, really just iconic on its own. And then what I really like, and we could probably talk about this a little bit because you've talked about this a few times on a lot of podcasts, especially the last one, is that it didn't overwhelm you with any religious aspects. Like, it was there, it was prominent, and the cast around was like, hey, Father, help me with prayers, help me find my faith again. He's like, I don't even have any faith myself right now, so I can't help you with that. Stop calling me Father, damn it.
I can attest to being the son of a pastor. A lot of people ask my dad for help for stuff like that, so it's a very realistic thing.
I really like that it didn't overstep itself. I really liked that it did have the religious stuff, and that eventually he did kind of find his faith again, and that it took, an alien invasion to get there. But I really like the way M. Night handled it, because he found it on his own, but it wasn't the main. It was a little bit of the main focus, but it wasn't the main focus of the movie. Was him finding his faith again. It was
like a side plot, really.
It was him finding it within to get there while doing actual shit going on.
Yeah. Well, that brings... this is not anything that... We're not, like, the first ones to notice this, obviously.
Yeah.
The title Signs has double meaning. Obviously, it means the in the field, the field... Why am I... The crop circles.
Crops.
Like, those signs, and then, like, the signs... that's a running theme throughout. Is, like, looking for signs of aliens or looking for signs of God. Do you see signs and then think it's a miracle, or see signs and think it's just a coincidence? So that's, like, the whole point of the film, which I think is great. It's done very subtly, to a point where, if you're not looking for it, you might not pick it up. Because, but I was also like 12 or 13 when I watched this for the first time, so I probably wasn't looking for that. But yeah, I agree. I love that. The scene when they're in the basement and Morgan is having his asthmatic attack.
Yeah.
And Mel Gibson is just praying to God and says, like, I hate you. That scene is so powerful. Like, just the hate in his voice and his eyes when he says that.
He's such a good angry actor when he gets into it.
He is. I mean, because he's an angry person in general.
Yeah.
If you can't stand watching Mel Gibson anymore, I understand that. I personally, within reason, can separate the art from artist.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's points where it's easier when I don't like the person, like Woody Allen.
Sometimes I don't like a Hitler painting. Sue me.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I was not expecting that at all. But yeah, I understand that people can't separate the art from artist. I can. I respect people who don't want to see anything with Mel Gibson in it because of that. I do find some of the stuff that he made after all that stuff came out harder to tolerate. But like, I still can go see it and that just be like on the back burner while I'm watching it, because ultimately filmmaking employs thousands of people. It's not just one person. Yes, he's financially profiting from these things, but so are other people who did not do or say the things that he did.
Amen.
But yeah, when he's just like that scene when he's just like, I hate you, is just so powerful. And I personally, I have a very weird relationship with religious tones in films. I feel like a lot of it is forced or fake. And just to appease audiences. But this feels natural. This feels like something, this feels like a real struggle that someone would have, to the point where, like, I kind of realized subconsciously that my latest script that I wrote, I didn't take things from this, but I took a lot of like emotions from it and things, because it's about someone who lost their faith as well, and it's just, it sticks with you. Like, it's so on a like subterranean level that like it doesn't beat you over the head with it, which I really like. And the scene where he says goodbye to his wife is beautiful, and
100%.
one of the best scenes.
I like that they split that scene up too, and it wasn't just like,
Yeah.
oh, here's
yeah.
a flashback of 5 minutes
Yeah,
of this.
they showed him getting out of the car, and then Cherry Jones greeting him. Then they cut away from it. Then they come back. She explains to him what's happening. Then they cut away, and then they come back, and then they show the goodbye. Beautifully done. Fantastic editing in this as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I love this film. I think it's great. I think people need to get over the water thing. It's really a dumb thing to get over, especially when you rewatch it and realize they weren't trying to live on Earth.
It's really like someone wearing a really, really great outfit and they've got some ugly socks on.
Yes. 100%. That's a great analogy, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, those socks are going to be covered by the legs of the pants for the majority of the time.
Badass shoes, dog. Damn.
Yeah.
Ew, what the hell are you
What are
wearing those
those?
socks? Oh my God, what are those? But speaking of looks, the last thing I really have to say is, however much you think about Mel Gibson doing whatever it is, he could pull off that fucking pastor outfit hard as shit.
Yeah.
God
And
damn.
the
he
flannel.
looked
The
good.
flannel, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Handsome fella. Give him that.
Yeah.
That's about it.
The last thing I will say is Joaquin Phoenix, when making this, is younger than both of us now.
Oh, don't do that to me.
And M. Night Shyamalan was younger when he made this than I am now. And that made me have an existential crisis.
Well, that's great. Thanks a lot.
Also one of M. Night Shyamalan's best performances. Like, it's not mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But, like, he does pretty good in this. Like, I feel like it's probably his most important role, for lack of a better word.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that normally he's like looking at characters. This one he couldn't look. He just like was looking
Yes.
down. So
yes,
it's a lot of like
he was filled with
sulking.
shame.
Yeah.
But yeah, one thing that he grew up in like Catholic school, which is why he always has like religious tones in this film. And I feel like even though I believe he's Hindu, he's definitely not Catholic. I know that much. But his parents wanted him to have like the structure of Catholic school, which is why he went to Catholic school.
Yeah.
But like I think because of that, he has that separation. He does religion in films better than most people. And I thought it was a great element to this, you know.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Great film overall. And I think we're both going to say it doesn't go on the shelf.
What a piece of shit movie. Man.
Yeah.
Yuck.
You got anything else to say?
No, nothing.
So, that does it for our review for Signs. That brings us to the judgment. As always, it needs to be a unanimous decision whether that goes to the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. That brings us to that thing. It's Glenn. Jesus Christ. It's your pick, so you get to go first.
It is my little picky wicky.
Does it go on the shelf?
Without further ado, that bitch goes on that shelf, man. Right with all my glasses of water, too.
Yeah.
Because from here on out, I make sure I always have one cup filled with water. Not because I'm absolutely dehydrated when I go to bed. No. But because I'm afraid of aliens coming in and probing my ass. Thanks, Signs. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, this absolutely goes on the shelf.
Yeah. I would 100% agree. I didn't cry when I first saw this because I was but a teenager or soon to be a teenager. Coming off not even a year after 9/11 happened, so you know.
Yeah.
Things happened. I think actually 9/11 happened during the production of this, if I'm not mistaken.
Here's a little thing. I was 9 when I watched this. You might have been 11. The connections, it all comes full circle.
No, I was 12. I was 11 when 9/11 happened.
We skipped that one.
Yeah, I was 11 when 9/11 happened. I was actually 11 days from being 12 when 9/11 happened.
Oh my God.
So yeah, you can look for my information using that information. But yeah, I think it absolutely goes on the shelf. It's a great film. People hate on it way more than it deserves because, like, visually it's fantastic.
Yeah.
The writing is great, and it's legitimately creepy.
It is legitimately creepy.
So yeah. So, Signs makes it on the KFR shelf with the likes of Apostle and The Last Exorcism. Whoa!
Wow.
That brings us to our final assignment for the 2023 Spooktacular Spooktober.
I can't believe we're here already.
It came and went so fast, Glenn.
Just like me.
Oh. But yeah, this is Streaming Roulette Week. Oh, sorry. I made this pun when I posted the Friday the 13th, the last chapter, and I have to make it again. It's Streaming Boo-lette Week.
Oh.
Woo!
You're allowed to be a dad.
Yeah. So, for Streaming Boo-lette, we spin a very real wheel that is normally the size of Rhode Island, but now it's just the size of Providence, Rhode Island, because we filtered out only the horror movies. We spin it 3 times, and we pick the one that piques our interest the most. It has to be at least a year old, though. I need to come up with a smoother way of saying all that.
One day.
One day. You know, it's only been 2 years or 3 years. I don't know how long we've been streaming Boo-lette, but it's been a while.
Just a few.
But yeah, so here comes spin number 1. Martyrs from 2008. And that is going to be on
Damn, a lot of shit.
Tubi, Pluto, Plex, and Vudu.
All the free stuff.
A young woman's quest for revenge against the people who kidnapped and tormented her as a child leads her and a friend, who is also a victim of child abuse, on a terrifying journey into a living hell of depravity. Didn't stutter once! Written and directed by Pascal Laugier, starring Mariana Aloui, Milena Jamponoi,
French-Canadian film, by the way, I think.
Yeah, Catherine Begin, Robert Toupin, Xavier Dolan's in it, I recognize that name. Juliet Gosselin, Juliet Baby Goose. And yeah, so that is going to be on Tubi. All the free ones, pretty much. 7.0 out of 10 on IMDb, and I don't see a Metacritic score. So yeah, hour 39 minutes, 2008, Martyrs. That is our first option. Here comes spin number 2. Trick or Treat.
Oh, God.
I've heard of this before.
Did I watch this?
I feel like it's an anthology film, if I'm not mistaken. From 2007, this is going to be on HBO Max and Amazon if you have the Max Prime subscription.
I think I recognize that little character on the poster.
Yeah.
I just saw something from it.
5 interwoven stories that occur on Halloween. An everyday high school principal has a secret life as a serial killer. A college virgin might have just met the guy for her. A group of teenagers pull a mean prank. A woman who loathes the night has to contend with her holiday-obsessed husband. And a mean old man meets his match with a demonic, supernatural trick-or-treater. That's 5 plots! Didn't stutter once! Sorry, I get really excited when I don't stutter. Written and directed by Michael Dougherty. Starring Anna Paquin, Brian Cox, Dylan Baker, Rochelle Adis, Quinn Lord, Lauren Lee Smith. Let me see if there's anyone else that I recognize on here. I thought that person was Weird Al. It is not. Leslie Bibb, who is Sam Rockwell's partner. Patrick Gilmore, bunch of people. So that is going to be on HBO. Trick or Treat, 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb. Again, do not see a Metacritic score. And hour 22 on the runtime. Here comes spin number 3. Ooh, The Fly, but not the one. Not the one with Jeff Goldblum. This is the original 1958 one.
With Vincent Price.
Yeah. This is going to be on HBO Max or Hulu. A scientist has a horrific accident when he tries to use his newly invented teleportation device. Directed by Kurt Newman, written by James Clavell, George Langelan. It is starring David Hedison, Patricia Owens, Vincent Price, Herbert Marshall, Kathleen Freeman, Betty Lou Gerson, and others. 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, 62 Metacritic score, hour 34 minutes. So regardless of what we pick, we're going to have a short one to watch.
Yeah, I was actually just sitting here thinking, none of these sound that bad.
Yeah, I think they're all pretty solid choices here.
And they all have a pretty good rating, too. Like, it's really tight as far as ratings go.
The one, the me in me, the me in me.
The me and me.
Wants to go for the old one with the Fly, but I am fine with any of these if you would prefer another one.
I think the one I'm least leaning towards is Trick or Treat.
Okay.
But it doesn't sound bad. I want to preface that a little bit.
Yeah, I just kind of want to do like a full plot, not an anthology.
Yeah. Honestly, Martyrs looks good, but it would be nice to see the original The Fly, because I don't think I've ever actually fully watched The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
David Cronenberg directed it, I believe, and it's pretty good. I have it if you want to borrow it.
I wouldn't deny it. Damn.
Yeah, David Cronenberg directed that one.
I don't know, to be honest. Which one are you leaning towards the most? Well, at least give me a twofer. The Fly, did you say?
For me, it's The Fly, Martyrs, then Trick or Treat.
I would probably say the same, honestly.
Okay. And would you say that if I didn't say it already?
No, like well, it's kind of like a super tie between Martyrs and The Fly. But I'm okay with either. So I would probably let's do The Fly actually.
Okay. All right. So The Fly is our assignment for next week, and we're gonna watch it. That's how this works.
We're gonna review this man eating shit or something. I don't know how The Fly works.
Have you not seen The Fly?
I just did say that 2 minutes ago.
Not. I thought you said you haven't seen the whole thing.
Pretty much.
So essentially, this man makes a teleportation machine, and then when he teleports himself, a fly is also in the teleportation machine, so he becomes part fly.
Nice.
So that's what happens. And the David Cronenberg one gets really gross. Something tells me this won't be as gross.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. Like, I like the David Cronenberg one. But yes.
I'm Vincent Price. What unearthly horror did that girl gaze upon? What manner of incredible thing walked beneath that hood? It would be unfair at this time to show you any more of what went on in that laboratory where a man actually dared to play God. So fantastic, words can't begin to describe it. You must see it with your own eyes to believe it. When the fly comes your way.
So, The Fly is our assignment for next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. As always, you can check out our website at www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we are Keystone_film_review. Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike, KFR.
And I am Glenn KFR.
And that will do it until next week, when one of us grows wings and the other one grows 50 million eyes and has a little tongue, and then to eat we vomit on the food so it dissolves it, and then we slurp it up because that's how flies eat. It's really disgusting. Flies are disgusting creatures and should be eradicated from this earth. I don't care what they do for the rest of the earth. We should get rid of flies. We should get rid of all bugs except for bees. Bees are cool, but all bugs serve no purpose. Oh, you know what? Gerald's. We got to keep Gerald's, praying mantises.
You got to keep the Geralds. Those are my boys.
Gerald's, praying mantises, and bees. They're the only ones that matter. Everyone else.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Get out of here. I know some of you eat poop, but so does my dog. So get out of here.
Looking at you, dung beetle. Ugh. Yucky.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.